Rifftrax. Never pick tracks when the riffs are missing. Why you always gotta pick Rifftrax? It's your lucky day, it's time for Rifftrax.
Hello, I'm Faith, and welcome to Faith's Take, where I talk about anything and everything that I find interesting. And welcome to episode 26 of Every Rifftrax Short Reviewed, where I take 5 Rifftrax shorts in chronological order, review them, and give them a rating between 1 and 5, with the points being good, great, awesome, fantastic, and spectacular, since I don't think a bad Rifftrax short exists. Once again, we have quite the eclectic grouping here, with badgers, kangaroos, and a guy in a bear suit. So let's dive right in with episode 26 of Every Rifftrax Short Reviewed. Number 126, The ABC of Walking Wisely, from March 11th, 2011.
And carefully cross the street with the green light, always watching for cars that may be turning into your street.
Tag your street with menacing graffiti so others know you are not one to be trifled with.
And
To answer your first question, yes, it is just the ABC and not ABCs as it should be. Here we have another short to teach children how to walk in the street. This time the children are taught using the alphabet in a way which makes absolutely no sense. It shows us several examples of different types of walkers, unfortunately not of the zombie variety, and how you can relate all of them to letters of the alphabet. But not every letter of the alphabet is used, and the ones that are just so loosely tied to what the kids are actually doing, you probably shouldn't have tied their behaviors to the letters at all.
have you ever noticed that people walk in the streets like the alphabet? They do, you know.
Isn't Walking Like the Alphabet a song by the band
And
Train?
that goes for grown-ups.
I think you're thinking
and
of
children
Elmo.
alike.
No matter. I despise both equally.
So don't be a jaywalker. Be an A-walker.
Though the band between your legs will make walking physically impossible.
And there are lots of other alphabet walkers floating about in the streets, like letters in a bowl of alphabet soup or cereal.
Drowning in milk as you pick out the marshmallows.
Here I come, says the I walker.
His descendants will certainly text while driving.
But one day the car may not be able to stop in time.
Bill and Betty are also
Always
crosswalk
look carefully
tennis
both to the
enthusiasts.
left. Don't ever behave like the ill-mannered I walker.
I Walker, Chuck Norris's autobiography.
Take notes, guys. If you're going to make an educational short for kids, make sure that the lesson and the way you teach said lesson are so completely confusing that the children can't be sure what the ever-loving heck you're talking about. And remember to at least be courteous enough to repeat everything you just said over again in an even more disjointed way.
You remember the legend of King Arthur in his Knights of the Round Table.
And their famed devotion to wise walking. Yes,
There
of
was
course.
the gallant Sir Lancelot and the courteous and considerate Sir Galahad.
Shown here
But there was
addressing
also
King
a
Jesus.
knight who was, and that's just what the K-walker is, too.
Aw, baby Matt Damon.
Sure clown. The street is no place for the carnival capers of the
Not
K-walker.
one of those words began with K.
The O-walker doesn't think before he acts.
The O-walker,
Oh,
common
says the O-walker. I
sociopath.
forgot. So don't be a wiseacre Y-walker.
Sending two very different signals there.
And the ill-mannered I-walker, who takes a dangerous risk by thinking only of himself.
This guy's
instead
back.
of
If
showing
I'd have known they were going to
consideration
repeat
for
the whole
driver.
movie, I would have brought along my good
And
friend
instead
Johnny
of looking
Walker.
to the left, all those alphabet walkers still have to learn how to walk wisely.
This clip appears in the 1982 movie Saying the Alphabet Backwards to Avoid Arrest.
A short that thinks its concept is much cuter than it actually is. This plotting journey gets a 2 out of 5.
And that's why smart boys and girls don't clown in the street and behave like the cocksure K-walker.
God forbid 3 of those K-walkers get together.
Or
Number 127, Vision in the Forest, from March 29th, 2011.
Her life is about to change forever when she crosses paths with Moose Baby.
This will be a super short entry since it's a super short at only 5 minutes. We open with a family heading for a fishing weekend in the forest. The father and his daughter named Chris see a poster for Smokey the Bear, who the 12-year-old genuinely believes is real for some unexplained reason. As the family settles in, the father starts going on a long-winded speech about how amazing nature is and that we all need to protect it and all that cliche Captain Planet message stuff. If that wasn't bad enough, he starts singing in the most generic voice and with the most generic accompanying music that you've ever heard in your life.
Great idea, isn't it, Chris? To remind us to be careful in the forest.
Chris.
Smokey's not an idea, Daddy. He's real. He's as real as you and I.
Oh, sure, Chris. Let's go.
Dear God, how I wanted a son.
To hell with Smokey. Pour some gasoline on this
This
sucker.
is the time.
It's pretty out here.
Sure is. We're lucky, Candy. Not only us, but millions of other folks all over the country.
Yes,
They
Dad.
enjoy the forest, trees,
Why do I get him started?
An old cowpoke been riding out one dark and windy day.
Ladies and gentlemen, anyone's dad singing in the shower.
He rested as he went along his way.
The weather started getting rough, the tiny ship was tossed. If not for the courage of the fearless crew, the minnow would be lost.
As the dad continues singing his little ditty, Chris wanders into the woods and sees quite the psychotic sight. Smokey the Bear walks right off a sign and is totally real! Yep, totally real, and not just some poor guy sweating bullets in an awful bear suit. Anyway, after seeing him for approximately 22 seconds, Chris runs back to the family who, instead of taking care of their obviously hallucinating child, just assure her that Smokey the Bear is everywhere.
Close, Satan!
Hi, Chris. Thanks for your good health.
The realm of fog and sorrow beckons you, Chris. Forest fires, forest fires.
Where's our knife? Our lives depend on it!
Smokey, I saw him right out there in the woods.
Smokey's everywhere, Chris, reminding us to guard against fire.
Staring at us blankly and slowly drawing a finger across his throat.
As they are. People stop and pay attention when he tells them to beware.
Your life is very empty if you check in on Foursquare.
Smokey the Bear, Smokey the Bear.
His minions drag you off into a pit of despair.
We think he killed a hiker once, he caught her in a snare.
Before Daddy Day Camp, they made Daddy Daycare.
This very bizarre and musical PSA gets a 4.5 out of 5.
Where the ranger's hat and shovel and a pair.
Remember, kids, I can absorb your essence with my mind's eye.
Always sniffing.
Number 128, A Badger's Bad Day, from April 19th, 2011.
She's gone. But the badger doesn't know it.
Yes, when it comes to being a badger, this guy sucks.
Back to the magical land of animal stock footage. In this installment, we meet a young badger who makes a terrible decision and pays for it all day long. You see, this little guy gets himself sprayed in the face by a skunk, and the rest of his day goes about as well as you'd expect it to.
He uses his nose to follow the trail of smaller animals he catches to eat.
The war paint he applies to his face terrifies
This
them.
young bat, he can dig out ground squirrels and gophers and other animals that live underground.
Here he's attempting to free Thumbelina from the pervy old mole.
This small animal is almost never hunted by a badger or any other hunting animal. Do you know why he's so safe?
'Cause I'm Gregory the skunk, and I will kick anyone's ass.
Please see previous Rifftrax short, Little Lost Scent, to fully enjoy that reference.
Stop talking and watch me.
So sorry, Mr. Gregory.
The wood out over the odor drifts over to some young raccoons nearby. Watch what happens as they...
Yeah, that's what happens when I
The badger hears them. Where they climb to get away from the skunk smell, the raccoons are safe.
For 30 seconds before the falcons attack.
Do you think the
Oh,
raccoons think he is a skunk?
I suddenly want a pet baby raccoon is all I know.
Now the badger is hunting near the rabbit's nest.
Well, I'm sure this will work out.
Oh, yeah.
Can they get away? There goes one.
And a shot rings out from the guard tower.
Okay, I know the audience for this short is clearly very, very young children, but this narrator will not stop mentioning how important the sense of smell is to this animal. Over and over, he reminds us as if we all have short-term memory loss, while this poor badger just stumbles around blindly as every other animal either runs from him or tries to steal his house.
But he's trying to use his nose.
Laugh at him, for he is now God's joke.
The badger tries to follow, using his nose. But he just blunders along.
I'm unclear. Is the badger having difficulty smelling or not?
It's like a Faulkner novel. Who can keep up?
But the badger doesn't hear her.
He's distracted by discovering Nick Nolte's underground home.
Oh, I think you're having a bad
To
day.
know what animal? He is very close to a pheasant on her nest. Do you see her?
And if not, what's wrong with you? Are you some kind of freaky noseless badger?
And these two, apparently, are going to use the badger's hole as a home.
They've already used up the TP, and you know they won't replace it.
Angry badger or Comic-Con attendee after one flight of stairs?
The badger seems to be trying to get close enough to sniff them. Isn't he sure what these animals are?
So his other senses are 100% useless?
100%.
And it is a bad day when a wild animal can't trust his sense of smell.
Thanks for bringing the smell thesis home.
What does it say about me that through this whole thing all I could think of was my Hogwarts house? Regardless, I've got to give this entry a 3 out of 5.
The skunk odor from the badger's fur must bother the coyote.
Or maybe these animals are nowhere near each other and we've simply edited this. It's anyone's guess, really.
Number 129. Families, Earning and Spending from April 22nd, 2011.
Aha! Our old friend Bob Ross and his swinging family are back.
Ah, yes. Here we have the sequel to Families, Food and Eating, one of my absolute favorite shorts in the Rifftrax library, and this is a worthy successor indeed. Here we meet up with all of the same families from before, one Japanese, one American, and one Mexican, and we see all of the different occupations the adults have and the various purchases they make with their earnings.
Both my mother and father have jobs where they earn money.
Takes a lot to keep us stocked with flowery silk shirts.
When people have a gas leak or something like that, they call the gas company. Dad gets the message and then tells the repair people where to go to fix the leak.
Any slight advancement in communication technology will make his job obsolete.
That's correct, Rich. Thank you. KMS 66.
Why not just hand it to me, Carl?
Because I don't respect you.
Mom works at an elementary school. She's a secretary in the clerk's office.
To work here, you must own at least 6 cats.
Stand on the right if you're fabulous.
My father is a gardener at the hospital in Yahalon.
He usually just tells people he works down at the hospital and hopes they don't ask follow-up questions. But they do. They always do.
In the afternoon, the coffee beans have to be picked up and stored in our house.
I have heard many Americans are unable to go to their fancy offices and sit in a chair all day without the coffee.
Okay, here's my list of guys in here who need shirts.
When Grandfather takes from Quetzalcoatl's, most of the coffee goes to the United States and other countries.
Such as seals.
My name is Hiroyuki Suzuki. I live in Tokyo, Japan.
Off to the friggin' rat race.
My mother takes care of the house and my sister Junko.
Who shames us with her every word and deed.
In his job, my father has to be able to read and write both English and Japanese.
He translates instructions for electronic devices back and forth between both languages until they are completely incomprehensible and useful to no one.
While in the last short, there were some very clear ways in how the three families were different, especially when it came to the actual food that they ate. In this episode, the American and Japanese families are a bit more similar, seeing as how they can actually go to department stores to shop, whereas the Mexican family still lives off the land in their tiny town's tiny economy.
Mom wants to find shoes that will last a long time, but don't cost too much.
Mom also wanted to marry someone else, but Dad was what she got. That's life, huh?
Yeah, you know, when I worked here, the boss did mind sometimes if I acted the fool.
Mom says if she gives us our haircut, we don't have to spend money on them.
She said the same thing about dentists, and look what happened.
There still are things we have to buy.
Like ironic t-shirts and Lick-O-Maid.
And press-on nails and digipets.
And bowling balls and graphic novels.
A drum circle is
We
safe.
need a new cooking pot. Grandfather wants it to be a good one.
While Grandmother argues for any old piece of crap.
These marbles are for my cousin Homero. He's always losing his.
That expression is not a double entendre in Mexico. Homero's carelessness is punished harshly.
In our family, my father earns the money and my mother decides how to spend it.
Mostly she pays homeless guys to kiss.
While in the city, we plan to visit Prince of Space in jail.
Come, kids. Gamera just summoned you.
Oh, again, such a pain. My sister is bored, which means arson will shortly follow.
Like I said, this is a worthy follow-up to one of their best, and I'm giving this one a 5 out of 5.
Little girl is so cute.
Yo, that's very sentimental of you.
She'd be a great shoplifting distraction. Sorry, Mike, what were you,
Nothing.
Number 130, Kangaroos from April 26th, 2011.
Most of the time, Father and Mother Kangaroo and all the Joeys Eat and rest and graze and take things easy.
Much like welfare cheats and people who live in trailer parks.
Time to hop to Australia to meet some kangaroos. We start with a little girl roaming the harsh landscape all by herself just to examine the trees, which I feel suggests that she's lost and dehydrated and possibly for several days at this point. But soon she's distracted by a group of kangaroos, which in and of themselves don't seem that interesting, but the narrator is totally enthused about.
Many places in far-off Australia are still wild and lonely.
Take this shot of downtown Melbourne, for instance.
An Australian girl can see many strange and wonderful things. Things like this funny-looking grass tree.
A continent where trees evolved from grass?
Kangaroo. Lots of kangaroos.
Fortunately, none of them CGI and pursued by Jerry O'Connell.
Look at their ears turning to catch the faintest sound.
Somewhere in the distance, they hear the status of a knife being questioned.
They often run very fast, and sometimes they jump 20 feet.
Wow, wait a second. Is there a rule that says kangaroos can't play basketball?
Yep, there are several, actually.
Damn!
Kangaroos like to rest in the grass. They eat grass, too.
The little girl, long forgotten, is being eaten by a dingo.
This is yet another short where it just describes a few random facts about animals, and no matter how exciting he tries to make it seem, the narrator just can't sell it. But thankfully our trio of riffers keep things pretty entertaining.
But mostly, kangaroos are gentle creatures. They'd rather run than fight.
Much like Jar Jar Binks, or the French.
Everything seems quiet. But what happened?
A rogue narrator has startled them.
All the kangaroos run from their enemy.
The Nazis.
Certainly, the kangaroos are not afraid of sheep.
Well, they should
but
be.
Sheep are the enemies of kangaroos. They eat grass, too, and are more important to the people of Australia.
But not as important as Foster's Lager.
If you look at the skull of a kangaroo, you will find two sets of teeth. A back set for chewing grass, and a front set for cutting off the grass.
Which is why kangaroo skulls make such excellent lawn clippers.
Kangaroos, indeed, are wonderful animals.
More than that, they're holy creatures and should be worshipped by all.
A short that probably should have stayed buried down under. I'm giving this one a 2.5 out of 5.
I noticed they haven't yet brought up the fact that kangaroos are delicious. Because they are.
As always, thank you all so much for watching, and a special thanks to my wonderful Patreon supporters for their incredible generosity. I really hope that everyone out there enjoyed this episode, and get hyped, because in a few weeks I'll be uploading my 100th video on this channel, and we're celebrating with a brand new top 10 list. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys later.
Time for Rifftrax.